Good meowing guys, gals, zombies, and YouTube catters. Well, Quarry format and Chaos Origins are officially here, as well as National Season. So I'm here to bring you my full in-depth deep dive to Chaos Ritual or Ritual of Light and Darkness, whatever the internet has figured out what to call this deck. I'm here to bring you the in-depth guide to this brand new deck that's sure to take the meta by storm. At least I know a lot of people are preparing to face this deck at Nats. And let me tell you, I love this deck so much. This deck is so much fun. It's nothing like I've played before. If you've seen my post on YouTube and on Twitter, this past weekend with it, we went undefeated. Had a small little testing locals where I did play against the meta decks to try and tune up for nationals. And we went undefeated and really just had some insane grind games, especially against branded. This deck sets you up into a position where you are recycling all of your materials more so than branded, while interacting with their graveyard so that they can't cycle their materials, and really just outvaluing them over time with the powerful generic spells that are taking over this meta. So if you enjoyed this video, if you found this video helpful, as always, remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good YouTube stuff. And I don't have a Metafy, I don't have a class, I don't have a site where I teach all this. All my information is free to take in. But if you do want to support the channel, if you do want to support me, think about either subscribing over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Grinning. There's also links to donate there as well. Or you can also become a member over here on YouTube as well. When we get some more members, I'm going to be doing a members access only streams as well. Maybe some members only access playtesting for remote duels. So be on the lookout for that if we do get the numbers up, if we do bump those numbers. That being said, guys, gals, and bees, YouTube catters, grab yourself some popcorn, sit back, relax. This is going to be a long one, but here is my in-depth guide to Chaos Ritual Azamina.
Set the stage for the greatest magician in all of Duel Monsters. And with the magician of Black Chaos, I will avenge my fallen friend.
So the first thing I want to do before we go into the deck guide or the card by card guide, I do want to go into what each of the Chaos Ritual cards do. If you've already seen previous deck guides or have already seen previous videos, feel free to skip this part and just jump to the timestamp with the deck guide. But I'm going to build from the ground up with this deck because this deck is, again, very intricate. There's a lot of small interactions with this deck. There's a lot of 1-2 card combos with this deck. There's a lot of synergies with this deck. So I'm going to describe what each of the Chaos Ritual cards does first. We'll go into the deck guide, and then I'll go into those interactions and how those cards work in a game setting. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the cards and the archetype. So we're going to start with the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. This is one of your main extenders. A lot of what the deck revolves around. Personally, my favorite art of the deck. The Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos, along with its counterpart, the Black Lesser Soldier of Light and Darkness, are both unaffected by activated effects. So they're kind of like mini towers. Almost everything in Yu-Gi-Oh is an activated effect, even cards like Super Poly and Forbidden Droplet, unless they specifically target this card or target the Black Lesser Soldier. So cards like Imperm, Effect Veiler do get around this card, but the generic board wipes, your Lightning Storms, your Forbidden Droplets, your Super Polys, this card is unaffected by all of them. When this card is summoned, it has the effect on summon to add back any spell from the graveyard. Now this effect is very important. It does not target the spell, it just adds back any spell. So you do not have to tell your opponent what spell you're adding back. In this format, there are a lot of powerful spells to reuse and recycle. This card also has the ability to protect your back row. While this is on the field, your spells and traps cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects as well. And then if that wasn't enough, this card, while on the field, just has the effect to target one card and banish it face down. The next ritual that the deck revolves around is, like I said, the Black Lesser Soldier of Light and Darkness. So this card also is unaffected by activated effects, but this has a little bit of extra protection as well, as Black Luster Soldier, Soldier of Light and Darkness cannot be destroyed by battle as well. So it does set up a nice little defensive measure for your opponent's combat. Now on summon, this is our removal ritual. On summon, this lets us target a card and banish it face up. Also, if that wasn't enough, the final effect on this card is basically Black Luster Soldier Envoy at the beginning for my Yugi boomers out there. It has the ability of when it attacks and destroys a monster by battle, he gains 1500 attack points and gets to attack again. This helps you get around problematic towers as well as help clearing boards and going for game. We get both of these cards out by the brand new ritual spell, Light and Darkness Ritual. Now this is not your typical deck where you have to open both your ritual spell and the ritual monster. We have a lot of ways to access this card, but this is the Light and Darkness Ritual. This card can be used to summon Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos, or the Black Luster Soldier. You must also tribute monsters from your hand, or you can banish them from your graveyard as well, whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the monster you're trying to summon. So we are trying to equal or exceed 8. Now this card also has its own recursive ability, because if this card and any card that mentions Light and Darkness Ritual is in the graveyard, doesn't have to be a monster, doesn't have to be a ritual monster, can be anything that's part of the archetype, you can add that card and this card back to your hand. You will see this as a continuous theme throughout this guide, that this deck just recurs and recycles so much of its own engine constantly to outgrind your opponent. You can only use the effect to recycle the Light and Darkness Ritual and the additional card once per turn, but the ability to use this ritual spell is not once per turn, so you get to bait out a lot of your opponent's interaction. How we get access to our ritual engine is through our main starter, Griffo. This is a level 1 fiend. It has the Karibo stats, and then it has a quick effect. You can discard this card, then activate one of these effects. The first one being the next battle or effect damage you would take will become 0, so it has a Karibo effect added onto it that helps you stay alive if needed. It also has the ability to set one quick play or trap that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your deck, and it can be activated this turn. You can only use this effect of Griffo once per turn, but it also has the sneaky little effect. If it's used as material for a ritual summon, it becomes the entire cost for the ritual summon. This also has the ability to access the powerful quick play spells that are in the archetype as well, the Mystic Box of Chaos, as well as the Chaos Magical Hats during our opponent's turn if we need an extra form of disruption or interruption. Let's talk about that Mind Shuffle real fast, because this is what the deck entirely revolves around. This is a continuous trap. During either player's turn, you can add one monster that mentions Light and Darkness Ritual from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. Now, it is not a ritual monster, it is any monster in the archetype. So if you need a Griffo, you add a Griffo, discard a card. If you need any of your rituals, you add Black Luster Soldier, discard a card. There are multiple other options that we will discuss immediately after this. Then, when your opponent activates any card or effect, you can target one level 7 or higher monster on the field, return it to hand. Now this is cost. This is where the weakness of the deck comes in. This is cost to bounce it to hand. And then you special summon one monster that mentions Light and Darkness Ritual from your hand with a different name other than the one you returned. So a couple of rulings for this card. First and foremost, Mind Shuffle is for cost to bounce back to hand. So if we have a Magician of a Black Chaos on the field and our opponent goes to activate something and we want to disrupt with our Mind Shuffle, we'll go Mind Shuffle effect, bounce as cost of Black Chaos. Now the protection effect for Black Chaos protecting the Mind Shuffle is gone. So they can respond to the Mind Shuffle effect with like a Fallen and the Virtuous. They can pop the Mind Shuffle, they can banish the Mind Shuffle, whatever. It does not have the protection effect, and you can only use the Mind Shuffle effect to bounce and play once per chain. So once the Mind Shuffle effect resolves, then you get to play out your different named monster. It also has to return the level 7 to hand. So you cannot return any extra deck monsters. You cannot return any fusion monsters to your hand because they would go immediately to the extra deck, and it has to check if it returned to the hand to get its effect. But the good news about this card is the effect to special summon from your hand is not once per turn. So as long as we have a monster on the field that's level 7 or higher, and monsters in our hand that are different names that mention Chaos Ritual, anytime an opponent activates a card or effect, we can just bounce and exchange these two back and forth over and over again and get their on summon effects. Granted, their on summon effects are once per turn. So, but we have the ability to loop these cards as well as our Black Chaos. Now, the main card we are going to be searching majority of the time for this Mind Shuffle effect is the Skull Archfiend of Chaos. This is the summoned Skull or Retrain. The important effect of this card is if this card is sent by any means, whether it's used as material, whether it is discarded, whether it's sent from hand, whether it's tributed, you name it. If this card hits the graveyard by any means, then you can send one ritual spell from your hand or deck, and then you can add one ritual monster that is mentioned on that ritual spell. So the main line for this deck is either through Black Chaos or Griffo, discarding either of these cards to place or set your Mind Shuffle. We'll activate Mind Shuffle effect. We will add the Skull Archfiend of Chaos from our deck to the hand, and then immediately discard the Skull Archfiend of Chaos. This triggers the Skull Archfiend of Chaos effect, dumping our Light and Darkness ritual from our hand or our deck, and then adding any one of our ritual monsters that were mentioned on the card. A lot of the time you're going to be adding a Black Chaos. And then don't forget about Light and Darkness Ritual's effect in the graveyard. If there is a card that mentions Light and Darkness Ritual plus Light and Darkness Ritual in the graveyard, you can add both of those cards back to your hand. So that is the main starting loop for this deck. The other effect on this card is arguably more important, as this card is also recursive as well and helps us recycle our tools and our cards as well, especially in more grindy matchups. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target 3 other cards in the graveyards and or face-up banishment. So very important to note, not just your graveyard, but your opponent's graveyard, not just your banish, but your opponent's banish as well, including a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness. So as long as one of those 3 cards is a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness, could be the Mind Shuffle, could be the Light and Darkness Ritual, could be the Griffo, could be anything that we've talked about so far with this archetype. You place those 3 cards on the bottom of the respective players' decks, and then you get to special summon this card. So another important starter and brand new card for this deck is the Ragged Records of Rites. Reveal 1 ritual spell from your hand or deck, and if you do, add 1 monster from your deck to your hand that mentions that spell by name. So we don't even have to open the ritual spell anymore by going Ragged Records of Rites, revealing the ritual spell from our deck, and then adding a card that mentions it by name. So any card in our archetype like Griffo or Black Chaos that are the 1-card starters, discarding, get access to our Mind Shuffle, and then we're off to the races. Now this card is also recursive because of course it is. If a face-up ritual monster you control leaves the field by card effect while this card is in your graveyard, and you do not control any face-up monsters other than ritual monsters except during the damage step, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. Real fast, I want to talk about this card, Black Chaos. The reason why I want to talk about this card in particular is because I've seen a lot of lists recently start to cut this card because it is weak against Droll, and I think that's absolutely incorrect. You really want to maximize on your starters on this deck. This card, if you haven't seen it yet, is not only a level 8 spellcaster, not only your ritual summoning, using it as a single card material, banishing it from your graveyard if you've discarded it with other cards already, or by its own effect. But because it's also a level 8 dark spellcaster, it is also a great target for demod, where we can, if we do summon it out, we can just banish it and immediately go into demod to search out your bridge or search out a Gaze of Timaeus for a Dragoon. But the reason why this card is so good is not only is it a starter, because you can discard this card to the graveyard to place a Mind Shuffle from your deck face up on the field, but the real strength of this card comes in its board breaking potential, because unlike the ritual monsters, the Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Light and Darkness, and the Magician of Black Chaos, this card is just purely unaffected by activated effects. This card is just a towers in general. It also has the ability to inherent summon itself onto the field by shuffling back one of your ritual monsters either in the hand or the graveyard. But if that wasn't enough, on the field once per turn during your main phase, you can banish 2 cards non-targeting that your opponent controls. Now this does have to banish 2 cards, but that is a soft once per turn. So how you want to set up to break board: if you've opened Grifo in your hand and your opponent's comboing off, your opponent's playing the game, your opponent's going through their normal turn 1 setup, before they get any kind of like negates set up, or if you want to wait till the end phase to play around removal, like Fall into the Virtuous, things like that. And just during their turn, you discard your Grifo, set your Mind Shuffle. You'll activate your Mind Shuffle, you'll go Mind Shuffle effect, do the whole search Chaos Archfiend, discard Chaos Archfiend if you don't already have it in your hand, Chaos Archfiend, dump the ritual. Everyone's seen this line already before, to add your ritual monster. So if you've already have Chaos Archfiend in hand, just add the Black Chaos instead, since you're going to get access to a ritual monster. But basically the whole goal, by the time it gets back to your turn, by the time it is your turn 2 or your turn 3, you want to be able to go Mind Shuffle effect again, and you want to get access to your Black Chaos with any ritual monster in hand. If you could get access to both of them, great, even better. If you have access to both of them, the board breaking is insane. During the main phase, first action, you just shuffle one of these back that you don't need. So if we don't really care about the board breaking potential of the Blackluster Soldier, or we think we can get access to the Blackluster Soldier later on, we'll just do we'll shuffle back the Blackluster Soldier, special out the Black Chaos. Now, if they don't have anything here, we'll go Black Chaos effect, non-target banish 2 cards. If they chain anything to that, we just go Mind Shuffle, pop the Black Chaos back, put out the Magician of Black Chaos, and it's also unaffected. Then once they resolve their stuff, we'll go Black Chaos effect, banish another card, targeting this time face down. So we've already banished 3 cards in breaking their board. Now, if they activate anything else, if they chain anything else to this, we just go Mind Shuffle again, put out the Black Chaos again, and now we get to banish another 2 cards non-targeting, because this is a soft once per turn. I've had games already in playtesting where I've banished like 4 to 6 cards just off of Black Chaos alone. Okay, so let's go through the card by card deck list real fast. Now, I've been playtesting this deck for a while, but I'm still making cuts here and there. So this, of course, is not going to be the final deck list, but this is where I've enjoyed it so far. Had the most success so far. First of all, I do want to say you want to get it as close to 40 as humanly possible. This is very much a deck that follows the deck building motto or guidelines of you do not want to rip up your floorboards to increase your ceiling. And what I mean by that is you do not want to rip up your consistency. You do not want to hamper your consistency or the mid-range like control aspect of this deck to increase the number of Omni negates you end on, or increase the end of board that you end on. Because a lot of the time it is unfeasible. Main objective for this deck, if you're going turn 1, is build a strong enough board that you can survive to your turn 3, because we will kill them on turn 3. So first and foremost, we are on 1 of each ritual. This is pretty standard. 3 Grifo, this is your best starter, so obviously it's an instant 3 of. 3 Black Chaos, this is your second best starter, so an instant 3 of. You want to maximize your starters in this deck, even if they're not great against Droll. And then for our last starter, we are on 3 copies of Ragged Records of Rights. To continue our Chaos engine, we are on 2 Skull Archfiend of Chaos, 2 copies of the Light and Darkness ritual. Again, definitely want to play more than 1. I don't think you need 3, but you do want 1 in the deck to send with Skull Archfiend at all times. And then we have the 2 Mind Shuffles. Again, need multiple copies. 3 is a brick. You don't want to see this card in your opening hand, but you do want to get access to this card. And then finally, the last card, probably the weakest card in the deck. I don't know if I want to cut it yet. I like it a lot. I think it's a fun, silly card. I just don't. It's just a very clunking card, unfortunately. It's very awkward to try and pull off because you not only need 3 empty monster zones to summon the 3 hats to, but you also need a monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness on the field as well. So for the rest of the deck, that's not Chaos Ritual Engine. We have our 3 copies of Diabellstar the Black Witch, 3 copies of Wanted, 1 copy of Deception, and 1 copy of Hallowed Azamina for that Simple Spoils package. I took out the Debtors. Debtors was the 41st card. It came up a couple of times where I was like, oh, it's nice to have Debtors here, specifically for Hats targets to activate the effect in the graveyard to revive your Illa Sylvia. Again, having the 41st card be a brick that doesn't get you to full combo. So it's not the end of the world, but the consistency is what matters the most. Our bridging engine, because we mentioned Demod earlier, is 1 Magician's Souls and 1 Gaze of Timaeus. So we are playing the Gaze. I know some lists I've seen are not playing Gaze. To ensure that we win going first, that we make a strong enough board going first, I feel like you kind of have to play the Gaze, even though it is a brick in the deck. But that's why we're also playing the Souls. There's a lot of time if you don't open the Diabellstar engine, if you just open Ritual engine, Souls bridges you into the Diabellstar package. Also, getting to discard 2, draw 2 is extremely strong. It helps you also hit both of your engines if you need to as well. Gives you an extra body that you get to also revive for your Link plays through not only Cross Sheep, but also Celine herself. But if you do open both engines, then you get to just search Gaze of Timaeus when going first. I side out Gaze of Timaeus going second and just focus on the Souls play just to have an extender through interruption. But being able to also end on Gaze set in the back row to make a Dragoon, to get 2 uses of Dragoon, because we're going to send it and then revive it with Charmers, means that our board is even stronger. For the rest of the non-engine, we are on 1 copy of Farah the Primordial Goddess. This card is also possibly cuttable. She's only come up once and I butchered the line with her and only realized afterwards that I should have used her. Helps you play around Ash, which Ash is a killer for this deck in a lot of choke situations. So basically, if you do open her, you can reveal whatever you make sure you want to resolve, like your Ragged Records of Rights or your Mind Shuffle. If you opened her and Mind Shuffle together, now your opponent cannot respond to Mind Shuffle for both turns. We don't have a foolproof way of searching her, but we can go Souls if we already have access to both engines and Gaze, dump Farah from the deck to the grave, and then use Celine or use your Charmers to revive the Farah during your opponent's turn. And now we're also getting a Mind Control. For the rest of the non-engine, we have 3 Fulos, 2 Perulia. You just want your hand traps to be turn skips, basically. You want to be high impact hand traps. I would really like room in this deck for Ash Blossoms, but I don't know what to cut. I think you kind of have to choose between Ash Blossoms and this next card, which is Super Poly in the main deck. I am going for more high impact spells. There are so many strong generic spells in this game. To be able to cycle them or loop them with your Chaos Engine is so very strong in this deck. And Super Poly is great for board breaking. And then 2 copies of Fallen of the Virtuous. You definitely do not need 3, since we are recycling them with our deck so easily and never running out. As long as we get 1 in rotation, we're getting both of them in rotation constantly. And then last card for the 40th card is the 1 Called by the Grave for Droll and for Charmies. For our extra deck, we are on our Super Poly targets of Mud Dragon of the Swamp and Garura. These are the ones that come up the most. These are the most generic Super Poly targets. 1 copy of Azamina Yugioh to extend our plays and search out our Wanteds or other Sinful Spoils cards, and 1 copy of Azamina Illa Sylvia as our Omni Negate. Very small Azamina package is all you need. 1 Dark Magician of Destruction, since we are playing a lot of spellcasters that are level 6 or higher, and then 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon for that Gaze of Timaeus target. Now for Fallen in the Virtuous, we have 1 Albion the Branded Dragon, one Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon, pretty standard. But we are also playing the Dragon that Devours the Dogma. This is a great super poly target. The way I've built my deck, especially for Nationals, is I believe Branded is going to be the most popular deck, or at least the deck to beat of the format. So I really want a card that just blows out Branded. And this as a super poly target, and it's already come up multiple times, where opponent goes first action, summon White Albaz, summon Ecclesia, summon Cartesia. We go super poly, we super poly their entire board, and now we have a towers and they don't. So Dragon that Devours the Dogma, insanely huge. We also get to interact with their graveyard, we get to recur things out of our graveyard if we want to, and also has the end phase effect. If this card is in the graveyard during the end phase, we can add a Dogmatica or Tri-Brigade card from our deck to our hand. And hey, guess what? Fallen in the Virtuous is a Dogmatica and or Tri-Brigade card. So we are always going to be able to loop our Fallen in the Virtuous cards and put them back into our deck, put them on the bottom of our deck with our Seventh Skull, and constantly just have that card every single turn if we need it. For our links, we are on one cross sheet. This is our extender, lets us draw cards. If going full combo uninterrupted, we do get to make this card with both a fusion monster and a ritual monster underneath it. So it does allows us to both draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards to try and see more non-engine or more interaction, or more engine if we need to, but also lets us revive anything level 4 or lower to extend our plays. Our other link too is SP Little Knight. Because it's SP Little Knight, this helps us break boards and problematic floodgates. Our link 3 is going to be Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians. We also have Charmer's Quartet in Bloom as a link 4 to go into with this Celine during our turn. And Charmer Quartet in Bloom, once while face up on the field, lets us special summon 2 monsters with either the same attribute but different types, or the same types but different attributes. And then finally, our last 2 cards is one Access Code Talker, because this deck does need ways to finish games very quickly. And then our final link monster is Zena's Deceiving Doll Maidens. This card is absolutely cracked. This card's absolutely insane. I'm surprised not more people are running this card. It is a link 5, which is sometimes hard to make depending on opening hands. We're not making this 100% of the time, but it is 2+ effect monsters. So it is a generic link 5, and you also have the ability to use one monster from your hand as a link material to make this card. So technically it is either 4 monsters on the field and 1 in hand, or your link 2s and link 3s on the field as well. But when this card is summoned, you can send any monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is an insane thing to just be able to Foolish Burial generically in Yu-Gi-Oh! But also, if this card is sent from field to graveyard during the next standby phase, you can also add back any 1 monster from your graveyard. That effect comes up less. Really, this card is here to bridge the 2 archetypes by allowing us to send Skull Archfiend to Chaos. So let's show a test hand real fast to really kind of show the strength of this deck, the power level of this deck. Hopefully we get to open both engines here, so I get to show the full inboard without having to sacrifice either of the engines for it, but we will see. We'll give us a little more of a shuffle here. We'll give us a cut. And our 5 cards are Super Poly, Ritual of Light and Darkness. There's a Diabell Star, there's 1 starter. Blackluster Soldier, Light and Darkness, and a Wanted Seeker of the Sinful Spoils. So we're gonna start this off by special summoning Diabell Star by sending this Light and Darkness ritual to the graveyard. If you wanted to play around specifically like Ash Blossom or something, you can also want to during draw phase to bait out an Ash. But for the sake of the video, we're just going to pretend like the opponent doesn't have any interaction, of course. But optimal play, of course, would be draw phase wanted just to bait out any kind of interaction, whether it's like a Bell or an Ash Blossom, make your opponent decide. We're gonna send that Light and Darkness ritual. Diabell Star effect is going to set Deception. Don't worry, we're gonna be getting that Light and Darkness ritual back. We're gonna activate that Deception. Now, if we are still playing around Ash, you would go Deception effect here first because we want them to use the Ash Blossom on this Deception. So we would send the Blackluster Soldier here because we do need our bridge to resolve with our Dia Bellstar. So Deception adds Hallowed Azamina. And now since we've determined that they don't have Ash because they would have ashed both of these effects here, or ashed the wanted if we used it during the draw phase, just call that they don't have Ash. We will go banish for Demod to play around Molcharming Fulos. And then we'll go Demod effect to search. And we will get our Magician Souls. Now we can go Hallowed Azamina. Summon out Yugioh. Yugioh effect. Add the second copy of Wanted. Still keeping that extra Wanted in our hand a secret, I guess, at this point. And now we can go Magician Souls effect because it sends for cost to special summon. And we are going to send a Black Chaos because it is a spellcaster. Now we have bridged our 2 engines because now we can go Light and Darkness Ritual effect in the graveyard because there's multiple cards now in the graveyard that mention Light and Darkness Ritual. We'll add Light and Darkness Ritual back with the Black Chaos. And now we can discard the Black Chaos to place our Mind Shuffle. Now, if we were still playing around hand traps at this point, we would probably do that last just to make sure we have access into that ritual line and use all the interruptions here. Or we could also just do that underneath the Illa Sylvia. But let's make that Illa Sylvia now. We'll go into Cross Sheep. If we want to be a little greedy here, we can go effective Hallowed Azamina, shuffle back the Yugioh, and then we can go Mind Shuffle effect here. Add us our Skull Archfiend, discard the Skull Archfiend. Skull Archfiend is going to dump Light and Darkness Ritual and add us our Magician of Black Chaos. So now, because we're being super greedy, of course, we'll go Light and Darkness Ritual. We'll banish from our graveyard that Black Chaos to summon out to the zone pointed to by the Cross Sheep, the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos. We'll go Chainlink 1 Cross Sheep to not only draw 2, discard 2 because it is pointing to our ritual, but also revive targeting the Magician's Souls in the graveyard. And then also we'll go Demod effect, non-targeting add any spell back. We'll just add one of the copies of Light and Darkness Ritual back. So let's revive our Magician Souls. And let's draw 2 random cards. We'll draw Skull Archfiend, we'll discard 2. We can discard the Fulos and we will discard the extra Wanted at this point. We'll keep the Skull Archfiend in hand for next turn, but we will just treat them as 2 random blanks. So we still have so much more to go with this deck. Still so much more material to make. So now let's go Hallowed, Chain Wanted, since we haven't activated Wanted this turn yet. We'll add the second copy of Dia Bellstar and we'll make our Illa Sylvia. We still have not even used the effect of Magician Souls on the field yet. If we want to cycle through just blank spells and traps that we already have, we can discard 2, draw 2. I like drawing cards, so let's just draw cards. We will banish this Wanted, see if we draw into another spell, put Deception on the bottom, draw an additional card. It was a Perulia, it's a blank. Now we can go Cross Sheep plus Souls into Selene. We have exactly 3 spells in our grave, so we can use those 3 counters for our Magician Souls if we wanted to. We can go Selene plus the Magician Souls now for Charmer's Quartet in Bloom. And then we can go Skull Archfiend Chaos effect in the grave, putting back the Blackluster Soldier, the Ritual of Light and Darkness, and the Black Chaos from Banishment to the bottom of our deck. And we can use these 2 just to get the Demod off the field for our SP Little Knight. So now we'll set that Super Poly. We have 4 cards still left in hand. We have Mind Shuffle effect during our opponent's turn. We have Charmer's Quartet in Bloom to revive 2 from our graveyard if they happen to Super Poly us, like if they get rid of the Illa Sylvia or something beforehand. We also have this Super Poly, discard the Diabell Star. If they happen to crown or droplet the Illusilvia, we then get to revive the Diabell Star by sending the Illusilvia without using its effect. And then we can go Charmer's Quartet and Bloom to revive the Illusilvia and the Skull Archfiend of Chaos. So there's a lot of different layered interactions and things you can do, even of course when not opening both engines. And this deck does get to play through a lot of the popular hand traps that are in this format right now. The only hand trap that really hurts this deck that you have to watch out for, especially post side, is Molcharmi Perulia and Droll and Lockbird, of course. Shifter as well, obviously, but we just fade the one shifter. We just fade the one shifter. Ritual of Light and Darkness or Chaos Azamina has quickly become one of my favorite decks to play. Very strong deck to play. One that's going to, I'm sure of, take the meta by storm for this brand new Chaos Origins format. Now, to play Devil's Advocate, I think as far as Nationals, it might not be as strong as anticipated. I believe a lot of people are going to be prepared for this deck, or out of fear be preparing for this deck. I'll be happy if we do well, and I'll be happy if someone does well with this deck. That being said, I will be attending Nationals this year, next week by the time of this recording. So if you want to meet up and say hi, I will be at Nationals. I'll also be posting on a YouTube my outfit for the day and what I look like if you do want to meet up. And I'll also be making a vlog of the trip up to Minnesota for Nationals since we're going to be competing. So I'm super excited for that. If I missed anything, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that I did not cover, of course, as always, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, like, subscribe, support the channel, all that good YouTube stuff. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have a Metafy, I don't have a masterclass, I don't paywall any of this information. But if you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by subscribing to the channel or subscribing over on twitch.tv/Grinning Neko, or think about becoming a member today. Again, we're going to be trying to do more members only content, more members only streams in the future once we get memberships up, I guess, and make it rewarding for those members, whether it is playtesting, whether it is hand cams, or Master Duel only streams with members. We will figure that out as we get there. That all being said, guys, gals, MBs, YouTube catters, hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, good night.